If you find yourself always helping your toddler, today I'm going to be telling you how to get out of that cycle so that you and your toddler can experience all the benefits that will come from that. Today we will talk about your toddler's development, we will talk about some traps that you might be falling into, and at the very end I will be giving you some really easy practical ways to encourage your toddler's independence. A toddler's independence is so crucial to their development. It's our responsibility as their parent to encourage them and allow them to be independent in order for them to be resilient, to be able to problem solve, and to have self-confidence. So first, let me give you a little quick lesson in child development. Autonomy versus shame and doubt is the second stage of Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. This stage happens between the ages of about 18 months and 2 to 3 years old. According to Erikson, toddlers at this stage are focused on developing a greater sense of self-control. So that's what they're trying to do. This stage is all about children developing a greater sense of independence as they move through the world. So when the first stage of development was really focused on whether they could trust others, this second stage is really focused on whether they can trust themselves. And don't we all want that for our children? Of course we want them to trust us, and then we definitely want them to be able to trust themselves, because that is essentially what's going to carry them through the world. So kids who develop autonomy through this stage have confidence in their own skills, and they're much more likely to succeed in subsequent tasks such as mastering social and academic and all kinds of other skills. So as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, what we do in this toddler stage matters in a huge way. We are laying the groundwork, we are laying the foundation. And so that's a pretty compelling reason to encourage your toddler's independence right now. So what's the hang up, right? Why aren't all parents always encouraging independence with their toddler? Well, as I coach parents of toddlers, there are a few common themes that I have noticed. So I'll share just a few of those. The first one is fear. Some parents really find themselves afraid about what might happen if they allow their toddler the independence. They might be afraid that they're making the wrong choice. They might be afraid that they are going to get into more trouble or into more messes. They might be worried that they're going to hurt themselves. They might even just be worried about the unexpected, right? We don't necessarily know what they're always going to choose or how they're going to handle this situation. And so it can feel really scary to allow that to happen. Helicopter parent is a very common way to see this type of parenting. They hover, right? They aren't really allowing their child to just explore. They aren't really allowing their toddler to really problem solve much. They are constantly watching and waiting and correcting, and they're to help every step of the way. Second, let's talk about the many parents who really get a sense of purpose from helping their toddler. They feel that it is their responsibility, this is their joy in life, this is their maybe goal in life. They want to help make their child's life maybe as easy as possible, and they see the path to that being them being very present, very involved, and as the parent, they are getting a huge sense of satisfaction and purpose from that level of involvement. This parent might feel really sad or threatened even at the thought of their toddler not needing them anymore. They don't like that. They want to feel needed. They need to know that their toddler wants them there. And so that parent is going to go about helping for maybe a little more selfish reasons. The third culprit and the third trap, we'll say, is control. Some parents really feel the most comfortable when they are in control. They think that they know what's best, perhaps. They feel like things should be done in a particular way, things should be done at a certain time, or their toddler should look a certain way, and so they want that control. They have very clear ideas of how things should be, and this parent feels calm and comfortable feeling that they are in control of their toddler. They don't have to worry about all the things if they are making sure that their toddler isn't being independent. The last one that I would like to touch on is the parent who genuinely underestimates their toddler. They are unaware of what is age appropriate. They don't realize that their toddler is capable of choosing their own outfit, let's say. They don't really know the power that comes from giving their toddler choices or opportunities. They don't recognize how capable their toddler really is. And so they think they have to, honestly. They think they need to step in. They think they need to get involved. They're pretty convinced their toddler actually genuinely needs their help all the time, which isn't necessarily true. So aside from the development of your toddler being a huge factor in all of this, the other thing to realize as the parent is that a toddler losing independence is also very likely to affect you as the parent. First and foremost, burnout is a very real thing. Most people have felt that at one point or another, and maybe you're feeling that right now. Maybe that's why you're watching this video. You are so burnt out. You are feeling like you have to help your toddler every second of every day, and that's exhausting and that's not sustainable. And so it's actually doing yourself a favor to encourage that independence. The more we can teach them and instill in them that they are capable, they are competent, then they will rise to that. The other aspect of this is the skills that you are allowing them to kind of just dip their toes in right now will come into play later on, and they will grow into being a big helper, right? A child who knows that they can make themselves breakfast, that really pays off for years and years and years down the road. And you might think, oh, that's so sad. I don't want to make my child do that. I want to serve them in that way. There's a lot of different ways to serve your child, and maybe making breakfast is one of them. You just want to make sure that you aren't shouldering everything that they can and maybe should be responsible for. They can share in that, and you're helping them develop and grow all of those skills so that by the time they're out of the house, they have they have years and years and years of experience behind them. That's obviously doing them a favor, but also doing you a favor. So, a toddler asking for everything can be a sign that we have unintentionally or maybe intentionally started training them that they need that help. We have trained them that they can't do it on their own. This child melts to the ground, that they just are so tired and they just need to be carried. They can't walk anymore because maybe we have taught them that. Maybe over time we are picking them up, and so they have learned to ask for that. Same with, let's say, a little bit older toddler who you have tried to set the expectation that they should clear their dish, but they don't do it, and you don't enforce that, and so they're convinced they can't do it, and they will put on a huge display, a huge tantrum, because they know that you will do it. They want you to do it. We want to raise kids that actually want to be independent and want to do things on their own. Now, of course, temperaments play into this. Every child comes into this world very different, and that's a very relevant factor. Some toddlers truly, by nature, are fiercely independent. They don't want help with anything, anytime. And for these parents, they're going to be up against some different obstacles of stepping in and learning how to navigate that, because obviously sometimes your toddler does need your help for safety reasons or for other reasons. But other toddlers actually by nature don't really want to be independent, and these toddlers need a lot more encouragement from the parent. Just subtle encouragement that they can do this by themselves, or we're right here with you, you can do it. And they need that cheerleading more often. So you know your child, and you will need to learn how to best serve your child in this way to encourage that independence. So let's talk about a few practical categories, we'll say, for really good opportunities to encourage this independence. Firstly, clothes. There is no reason why your toddler should not be picking their own outfit every day. I have a video that I'll link of how I've set up my toddler's clothes. In a nutshell, only have out the options that they can choose from, and then it's as simple as pick one top and one bottom. Maybe you just have 2 baskets to start out in their room. One is full of the shirts that are all good options. Everything fits, everything looks appropriate how you think it needs to be. And then one basket of all the bottoms, same thing. You could capsule wardrobe so that everything matches, or you just accept that they are going to be mismatched, and that is totally fine. They're a toddler. There are bigger things at play here, meaning their independence, their self-confidence, all those things. Those are much more important than how your child looks. So you can give over complete control of their clothes if you haven't already. The next category would be food. I live by the slogan, which is also backed by research, of adults decide what's served, kids decide what to put in their bodies. So meals, snacks, I give the choices. So maybe there's 2 choices for a snack, or for dinner they have, a sampling of everything that's being served, but then your child gets to choose what they're actually going to eat. In case you didn't know this already, you really can't force your child to eat something. So why even try? We want to encourage healthy eating. We want to encourage a well-balanced diet, and there's ways to do that other than trying to take away control from them. We don't need to control that. We are doing our part, deciding what's being served, deciding the hours that the kitchen is open. I think I've talked a little bit more about food. I'll link that video. I think with my snack system, I talked about where all this comes from. The point is, food, eating, that's really important for your child to have control over that and have a say over what that looks like. Next, let's talk about walking places. Maybe you're out and about and you're walking around, or even inside your house. I get a lot of questions and comments about, my child wants to be carried everywhere and I just can't do it. I need to get things done. They're gonna whine, they're gonna fuss. If they're on the ground, they want me holding them. We don't need to do that. Okay, we always want to be available for our child. We always want to be loving and present for them. And there is no reason that you need to be carrying your toddler anytime you don't want to. And this is a great way to encourage independence. Or even as they get a little bit older, like my son is 4, he'll need to go to the bathroom, let's say. Sometimes he wants to do it completely on his own, be super independent. And then occasionally he'll say, will you come go potty with me? And it's a perfect opportunity to just very gently nudge that they can do it, right? Like, we believe in them. They are so big. They are so capable. And so we can just say, I'm actually doing the dishes, but I'll be right here waiting for you when you come back. Or why don't you go potty and then call to me and I'll come help you wash your hands, right? We can see where they're at, see kind of what level they're at. Are they just kind of testing us and they kind of want to be babied a little bit? Or do they genuinely need some help? Of course, we can help them and be there for them. But as they go to different rooms of the house, it's not your job to follow them around, right? That's totally a way that they can be independent and doing things on their own. Also, when it comes to them playing with toys or building a tower, let's say, find ways to encourage the independence. Again, we're doing this for their sake, for their development, for their confidence. We are also doing it for our sake, for our sanity, for our well-being. As we encourage more and more independence, it doesn't mean that we're less available to them. It doesn't mean that we're even connecting less with them. It means that we are investing in their skills. We are telling them, show me how big you can build that tower. Call to me when you're done. I want to come see how tall it is. But mommy, can you come and help me? I would love to, but I'm actually finishing this up. So why don't you build a tower for 2 minutes? Let's set the timer and then I'll come and see it, right? There's a lot of different ways in a very playful way. We're not telling them no. We're not telling them, I can't help you with everything. We're not being snotty about it. We are just trying to help them realize that they can have the confidence in themselves to do anything they want to. We want them to get to a point where anything they set their minds to, they can do it. The other thing I want to mention is encouraging independence when it comes to them making decisions about their safety. Now, hear me out. It's our job to make sure they're safe. It's our job to make sure that they are not in a situation that is unsafe, because, of course, developmentally, they only have so much understanding of that. However, from day one, I am telling my children basically to do what feels good to them. Do what feels safe to them. So if they're asking me, Mommy, should I climb up higher on this spider web? You know, those like playgrounds. I just talk them through that, because I actually don't know, right? Like, I don't know what they are comfortable with. I don't know if they should climb higher or not. And they learn from very beginning to gauge how they're feeling. Notice how their body is feeling. If they're feeling really scared and nervous, totally come down. If you're feeling excited and like you've got this, go a little bit higher. We can encourage that decision making from the very beginning within a safe environment, right? We're right here. We're available. I'm ready to catch them if they fall, but I'm not making the decision for them. Last thing I would say is just choices in general. If you've watched my tantrum series, holy moly, we have talked about choices. Choices are everything with your toddler and any age, I would say, with your kids. And as we give them choices, we are encouraging them and allowing them to flex that muscle of independence. They are the ones choosing. They are the ones in control. The best way to give a toddler choices is just two options. Two options that both are totally okay. So it's kind of like, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like they can choose, and they'll learn to trust themselves, and they'll learn that they can be the ones to recognize what their preferences are or whatever the situation is. So giving them choices is a really good way on the daily. I mean, every minute you can be giving them so many choices. So if you're feeling like all of this sounds like a whole lot of work, watch this next video to be convinced that it will be so worth it. Keep up the good work, and I will see you very soon.